guys, welcome to my first drive video on BMW's G82 M4 CS. I'm a little bit late to the party reviewing this particular model, although I did get invited to the global launch, which was happening alongside the G90 M5 pre-drive out in Austria. Since then, BMW have announced the M3 CS Touring, on paper at least, my absolute dream car. I missed out on a UK allocation for one of those, and to be fair, they're probably a little bit out of my price range. Talking of price, one of these will set you back £120,000. This particular press car, well, it has a fancy frozen Isle of Man paintwork and some optional carbon ceramic brakes, bringing its on-the-road retail price up to about £130,000. This model's been on sale for over 6 months now, but it hasn't been a massive sales success. I know that because if you head to the classifieds, you'll find loads of brand new unregistered M4 CSs with between £6,000 and £15,000 off their recommended retail price. An M4 Competition X-Drive LCI, which is the facelifted car that this is based on, will set you back just under £90,000 here in the UK. What does the extra £30,000+ get you with the CS, apart from some fancy badging? Starting around the front end, we have these yellow DRLs. We have a unique CS/CSL style grille with this sort of red pinstripe around the outside that I think actually does suit the contrasting frozen Isle of Man paintwork really well. Along the bottom, we have a lovely CS/CSL style carbon splitter. And in fact, this car comes with the carbon pack as standard, which would normally be optional on your M3 or M4 competition. So that includes these carbon intakes down there, those carbon door mirrors, and when we get around the back of the car, there's also a carbon diffuser. This comes with a carbon roof, which is standard on the M4 competition, but it also comes with this beautiful carbon bonnet, which most certainly isn't standard. It's stunning, whether it's closed like this or whether it's open. These unique lightweight forged wheels, they actually save 1 kilo per corner, which might not sound like a lot, but you've got to remember that is unsprung mass. So it's going to help with things like suspension and handling. You can also option Michelin's Pilot Sport Cup 2R tyre for your M4 CS, just in case you want to turn up to your local track day and set some lap records. This particular press car has PS4S tyres on it, Star Mark versions, meaning they're designed and homologated for BMW's M3 and M4. Hopefully at some point in the future I can try one of these on track with a Cup 2R. BMW M have played around with the suspension and geometry on this car. For instance, it has more negative camber all round. They've tweaked the spring rates, a little bit stiffer on the front and rear axle, and they've played around with the dampers. And in my experience, in BMW CS cars, the dampers always feel so much better. And when we get around the back of the car, we have a standard rear boot lid. I say that because the M4 CSL has a unique integrated ducktail boot, which is very, very special. But on top of that, we have a carbon lip spoiler. We have the carbon rear diffuser, which we've already mentioned when we're around the front of the car. We have a titanium rear back box of the exhaust, which definitely sounds better compared to a regular M4 competition. And we have these laser wire rear lights, which used to be unique on the M4 CSL, but now you can actually option these lights on your M4 competition. Under this gorgeous carbon fibre bonnet, we'll find a familiar S58, which is a 3-litre inline-6 twin turbo. It's been slightly tuned for the CS, now producing 550 horsepower and 650 newton meters of torque. But worth noting that the regular M4 competition LCI, or facelifted version, which this car is based on, now produces 530 horsepower and 650 newton meters of torque. So really the CS only gains 20 extra horsepower. But remember, this has shed a few kilos thanks to its bonnet, those wheels, the titanium rear back box on the exhaust, and a few things that are going on inside the interior. So when you factor in that slight weight loss and that slight power gain, well, BMW claim that this will do the 0 to 62 sprint in just 3.4 seconds. All of that power and torque runs through a tweaked version of the wonderful ZF 8-speed automatic gearbox and is fed to the ground via BMW's M xDrive system. Something else that's worth noting is this also comes with the upgraded CSL style engine strut brace. As I'm sure you already know, I'm a long-term user and now brand ambassador for GT85, the multi-purpose spray that lubes, cleans and protects. I've been using this incredible product for more than 25 years and recently I discovered yet another use for it. But before we look at that, let's just remind ourselves what I currently use GT85 for. Freeing up the lock mechanism on your patio door at the end of a long winter. Just 20 seconds later, it's like a new door. Cleans and lubricates the chain on my mountain bike. Drives out moisture and protects vulnerable parts on my brand new motorbike. And that brings us nicely to my latest discovery. Anyone that's done a track day will know that your tyres get really hot. Again, by accident, of course. And when they get really hot under lots of load, they tend to throw small chunks of hot rubber down the side of your car. When you get home after the track day and you clean your car, well, it's nearly impossible to get any of these rubber stains off until I discovered GT85 actually dissolves the rubber off the paintwork, leaving a layer of protection. Massive thanks to GT85 for supporting me and the channel in 2025. Make sure you check them out using the link below in the description or the pinned comment. Also, give them a follow on Instagram. Let's get back to me having fun in the M4 CS. Jumping inside, and the first thing to talk about is that roar on the startup procedure. Now, this car is warm, so that's not a cold start. When you have a cold start, it's just wonderful. It sounds so much meatier than a regular M3 or M4 competition. And I'm sure a lot of that has to do with that rear titanium silencer. I'm delighted to be sitting in my favorite BMW carbon bucket seat. Once again, these are standard in the M4 CS. I think they're about a £5,000 option in your regular M4 competition. So once you start adding up all of these parts, the £30,000 premium starts to make a little bit more sense. Then down here we have a unique carbon center console, which looks really good. Does save a little bit of weight, but also removes some handy features like cup holders. There's now just a wireless charging bay and somewhere to put your key. And here, where there used to be a storage bin, well, now there's a little tiny bucket thing. And because this is based on the updated M4 LCI, it has the new flat bottom wheel, which I actually don't mind. It retains the lovely carbon fiber paddles. But what have they done with the thickness of this rim? It is ridiculous. It feels like I'm holding a bunch of marshmallows or something. It's horrible. But otherwise, the rest of the interior is really, really nice. Let's get this out on the road. First things first, let's test out this car's claimed acceleration figures. BMW say it will do the 0 to 62 sprint in just 3.4 seconds, but it feels quicker than that. I managed 2.91 seconds to 60 miles an hour in the M3 CS, so let's see if we can match it. I have all the traction and stability aids switched off. I'm in four-wheel drive as opposed to four-wheel drive sport. I have the suspension in comfort. I think that should maximize the grip off the line. Conditions outside are close to perfect. Left foot is hard down on the brake, right foot on the accelerator. Preparing launch control active, here we go. Oh, there go my glasses. Oh my God, 2.83 seconds. I don't know where my sunglasses have gone. I thankfully managed to relocate my glasses. 2.83 seconds to 60 miles an hour makes this the second fastest accelerating car I've ever had on the channel. just behind BMW M's very own mighty F90 M4 CS. That car managed a frankly ridiculous 2.75 seconds. What makes it even more impressive is this particular press car has 1,700 miles on the clock. And in fact, when it was delivered a week ago, it had just over 1,200 miles, meaning it had only just had its run-in service. Fast forward 12 months, 18 months, when this has got 5 or 10,000 miles under its belt, I know for a fact, being someone who's owned several G Series M cars, that it will loosen up a little bit and go even faster. So impressive. While you're trying to get your head around those crazy figures, please consider subscribing to the channel. A massive 75% of my viewership aren't subscribed. Subscriber numbers help me get my hands on new cars, and I really want to try and reach 300,000 by the end of 2025. Now, if you watch my content regularly, you'll know I'm far more of an M3 guy than an M4 guy. Two reasons for that, really. Number one is the M3 Saloon and Touring is more practical than the M4. And number two, I think the M3 Saloon and Touring are better looking cars compared to the M4. Mostly down to the rear arches. Just looks more aggressive. It has a better stance on the road, and I think it just suits its overall styling better than the M4. Saying that, this particular M4 with the frozen Isle of Man paintwork and the carbon stripes down the bonnet, the CSL style grille, well, it does all help to make it look better. And in the week that I've had this car, it's had so many compliments from my neighbours and random people out and about when I've been filming or just using it as a car. And I really think the frozen paint brings out some of the styling in the M4, because otherwise with a regular, let's say, gloss paint on it, it just doesn't show off any of its angles, especially down the side of the car where it looks relatively plain in my opinion. This car, it looks a lot better. But what the M4 really does highlight, unfortunately, compared to the M3, is just how far inside the arches the wheels have got to sit these days in order to tick the right boxes for all the rules and regulations. So I'm sure anyone getting one of these is going to stick 10, 12 mil spaces on straight away, because instantly that transforms the way this looks. It makes it look far more like a GT3 or GT4 car than a road car. But aside from that, I think it's probably the best looking M4 I've seen on the road that has come out of the factory. What's this been like to live with? Because most people would assume the CS is a bit too hard-edged to run as a daily. But aside from the lack of regular center console and the lack of regular ergonomics, i.e. somewhere to rest my left elbow comfortably while I'm driving on longer journeys, aside from that, it's actually probably better and easier to live with and more comfortable than a regular M4 competition. We don't get the non-comp in the UK, and I did spend some time in a non-comp M4 manual out in Germany 3 or so years ago and absolutely loved that car. Spring rates seemed to be a little bit softer and the whole car was just a bit easier to live with. But BMW M state that the CS has slightly higher and stiffer spring rates. But in reality, it actually feels like it has softer springs. And that must all be down to the tuning on the dampeners. They feel incredible. They feel so expensive. And I know that's not the first time I've said that about a CS. I said it about the M3 CS, G80. I said it about the F87 M2 CS. I said it about the F90 M5 CS, and in fact probably even the F82 M4 CS that preceded this. Got very fond memories of that car back in 2018, taking my parents down to the south of France. It was absolutely epic car. Individual lime rock grey off memory. Wow, love that car. Very, very special car, as is this one. Sorry, I've got slightly sidetracked, but I was just touching upon the point that this is a very usable car, and unlike that F82 M4 CS that didn't have door cards, well, this one at least has door cards. Everything in here aside from the center console is fairly normal and easy to use. So yeah, as a daily, if you're worried about that, don't be. It doesn't have cup holders, and I like my morning coffee, so maybe that would annoy me a little bit. These seats, people ask me about the carbon bucket option seats in the M3, M4 and M2 these days all the time, and I absolutely love them. I think they're super comfortable, really supportive. They're brilliant on longer journeys, better than the regular M Sport seat, but in the CS they are standard, so you basically have to take them, and I don't think that's a bad thing. The only negative with them is getting in and out. The side bolsters are a little bit higher, but in the M4 you've got longer and bigger doors, so even for a lanky frame like mine, I have been finding it easier to get in and out of this car compared to, let's say, my M3 Touring, which has shorter M3 doors on it. Now the bit we've all really been waiting for. What's it like when you push on? Well, firstly, I will bring up my preset M1 button that has the engine in Sport Plus. Essentially, that's the throttle response in Sport Plus. Chassis in Comfort, because on the majority of UK roads, you don't need it to be any stiffer. It has a wonderful suspension, as we've just talked about. Steering in Comfort, because, well, we'll get onto that in a minute. It's probably its weakest point, and I think when you're in Sport, you lose all feel entirely. Brakes in Sport, because it just gives you a bit more stopping power, initial sort of pedal feel, etc. Four-wheel drive Sport, more power and torque to the rear axle. All the traction, etc. switched off. I'm in manual. Most ferocious gear changes. Let's just push on through here. I mean, the shift lights on my dashboard or on the head-up display are just mega. Coming here, trail braking, it's just awesome. The car feels so stable, but yet it moves around a bit. And I think a lot of that has to do with the fact that it's dry and relatively, well, it's warm enough now, the tyres are, the rubber is. This car has so much performance that you can feel when you really start to push hard, even on the road, that it has almost been set up to run on a Cup 2 or a Cup 2R. Not saying that the PS4S Star Mark tyres aren't up to the job, but this car has so much performance that it could easily benefit from running on some Cup 2Rs. The way it settles down through a corner thanks to its lovely suspension, the way it exits a corner thanks to its amazing M X-Drive system, especially when you're in four-wheel drive Sport, as you've seen back there. You just get a little bit of tail action, but a tiny little bit of opposite lock will correct that, and boom, you're off. The way it slows down and stops, I mean, the regular steel brakes are pretty good, but these carbon ceramics, well, we've got nothing behind us. Here we go. Oh my God. All right, I'm not going to come to a complete stop because that'd be a bit irresponsible on the public road, but yeah, I'm surprised my sunglasses didn't go flying off my head in that direction when I hit the brakes that time. It will come as no surprise when I tell you I think this new M4 CS is bloody brilliant. The boys and girls down at BMW M have managed to improve the already brilliant M4 competition X-Drive LCI. And although on paper, like with pretty much every CS iteration, it doesn't look that much better. A tenth here and a bit of carbon there, and played around with this and played around with that. But actually, when you add all of those small improvements up and you put them together in one package, the whole car really comes to life. And this, as a package, for something that will get you from point A to point B, well, I really don't think I've driven many or any other cars out there as quick as this. It is so capable and so impressive. I remember being blown away when I first drove the G80 and G82 M3 and M4s back in, would it have been 2021 when they were brand new. I remember the initial and original press drive and just being so taken by how much performance they had on offer. A few months after that, I was lucky enough to take one out on track, and that blew my mind even further. And I remember thinking, how are BMW going to improve on this with the LCI or any other special models that they bring out? We then got the very expensive and very rare M4 CSL, and although that was a very impressive bit of kit, it just didn't seem to come together that well. Some of it was really impressive, other bits not so much. And I think the fact, and this is coming from a die-hard rear-wheel drive fanboy, I think the fact that that didn't have the fancy MX drive system almost let it down, because unless you're on Cup 2s or Cup 2Rs in perfect weather and really good tarmac, you couldn't really utilize all of its performance. Whereas in this car, you can pretty much all year round. And when you're on a sunny mountain pass and you're running some stickier rubber, I can hit my M2 button here that decouples the front axle, just like it does in my M3 Touring, and suddenly I've got a rear-wheel drive car with, I reckon, 600 horsepower under its bonnet, because there's no way this is running the 550 or 560 that they claim. This thing is punching well above its weight. So the fact that you've got all of that in one package is just fantastic. What are my final thoughts? Well, I'm even more gutted that I don't have an M3 CS Touring coming. I'm sure that will be a car and a package that does absolutely everything, ticks absolutely every single box. Each time I've got behind the wheel of a G Series CS, so the G80 M3 Saloon CS and this G82 M4 CS, well, they've both blown my mind. They've both shown me that you can improve on the already brilliant competition variants, which is impressive in itself. But that's not just an improvement in straight line pace or power, it's an improvement in pretty much every single area. So I take my hat off once again to everyone down at BMW M. I guess the last question is, when are they going to give us a G87 M2 CS?